Diabolos as cellular decay, a linguistic and etymological analysis. The Greek word diabolos has traditionally been translated as devil, or slanderer in English, and is often personified in religious literature. However, when we examine the term through the lens of etymology and linguistic structure, a compelling interpretation arises. Diabolos can be understood as the biological element within animal nature that brings about cellular decay, aging, and dissolution into dust. This reading restores the term to its original Greek function, describing something that accuses, corrupts, and brings division. When applied to the physical domain, this perfectly parallels the observable phenomenon of cellular aging and decay, a process that infiltrates, distorts, and gradually breaks down the integrity of the living body from within. Etymology of diabolos. The word diabolos derives from two components, dia, through, across, or between, often implying penetration or permeation. Balo, to throw or cast. Thus, diabolos literally means one who casts through, or more interpretively, one who penetrates in order to divide or ruin. In classical Greek, this was applied to a slanderer, someone who inserts accusations that break unity from within. But this meaning is not confined to social or moral contexts. It naturally extends to describe an internal disruptor, particularly when viewed biologically. When applied to the human condition, this aligns precisely with cellular decay, which is not invisible or metaphysical, but observable and measurable. The process of senescence, in which cells accumulate damage and cease to divide, is exactly the kind of inner disruption suggested by diabolos. Linguistic function, destroyer from within. In ancient literature, diabolos is not a cosmic invader, but a corrupting presence from within. In Plato's Laws, for example, a diabolos is someone who subtly destabilizes society by sowing distrust and discord. The harm is systemic, not always overt, spreading corruption like rot beneath the surface. This is precisely how cellular aging operates in animal bodies. It is a biological diabolos, an inherent element that progressively breaks down the organism from within. This occurs through telomere shortening, which limits cell division, mitochondrial dysfunction, reducing energy and resilience, oxidative stress, damaging DNA and proteins, protein misfolding, corrupting cellular structures, senescent cell accumulation, spreading inflammation and decay. Each of these throws through diavolo, the body's structural harmony. The result is disease, degeneration, and death, a perfect linguistic and biological mirror of what diabolos means. Hebrews 2:14, the death connection. This interpretation is powerfully supported by Hebrews 2 verse 14. Since therefore the children share in flesh and blood, he himself likewise partook of the same, that through death he might destroy the one who has the power of death, that is, the diabolos. The diabolos is here equated with the power of death, not a spiritual figure ruling from beyond, but a reality embedded within flesh and blood. This explicitly aligns diabolos with the physical principle that governs decay and mortality. By partaking in the same physical nature, Jesus confronted and overcame this biological process of degeneration. The power of death attributed to the diabolos is thus cellular aging and decay, which inevitably brings all flesh to dust. The scripture speaks not of an external monster, but of the death process within human biology. Sin and diabolos, observed, not imagined sin and diabolos, have often been misrepresented as invisible metaphysical forces, but both are demonstrably corporeal. Scientists study them under microscopes. Mutations, telomere erosion, and DNA instability are visible signs of the accusatory, distorting function that diabolos describes linguistically. Just as the diabolos slanders truth with falsehood, so too cellular decay falsifies biological integrity. A misfolded protein, a misread genetic sequence. These are internal lies, betrayals of the body's original blueprint. The result is functional breakdown, much like societal corruption through slander. Paul's words in Romans 7:23 further affirm this. I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin which is in my members. Sin is in the members, not some abstract guilt, but a literal biological tendency toward corruption and failure. This is diabolos as the internal divider and destroyer, cellular decay working in all flesh. resolution into dust. The final work of diabolos is return to dust. All biological life ends in this resolution. Death is the outcome of the gradual erosion of cellular harmony. Nothing could better match the ancient etymological sense of diabolos, one who throws through to ruin. This is not a metaphysical event. It is as physical as oxidation, telomere attrition, and mitochondrial exhaustion. It is as observable as gray hair, weakened bones, and ultimate dissolution. Conclusion. The term diabolos, when viewed through the lens of its etymological structure and linguistic context, aligns seamlessly with the biological process of cellular decay. It is not a supernatural personage, but a corporeal phenomenon, an internal divider, accuser, and destroyer. Hebrews 2 verse 14 confirms this by naming the diabolos as the agent of death in flesh and blood. Thus we should understand diabolos not as an invisible being, but as the natural, observable decay encoded within all animal life, an aging process that throws through the integrity of the body, culminating in death and return to dust.